Close your eyes and take a deep breath. The world outside is chaotic and beyond your control, but this moment, this space of silence, belongs only to you. The ancient Stoics knew that true peace isn't found by stopping the world, but by teaching your mind to rest in the middle of the storm. Tonight, we will journey through 100 lessons from Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, designed not to make you think more, but to help you feel the weight of the day a little less. Let these words be the sanctuary where your mind can finally let go of everything. Prepare yourself for the deepest rest of your life, because tonight, we aren't simply exploring philosophy. We're walking through the garden of Stoic wisdom, a place cultivated over 2,000 years by some of history's most thoughtful minds. A philosophy born in the bustling streets of ancient Athens and perfected in the marble halls of Rome. A way of life that has guided emperors and slaves alike, that has weathered wars and plagues, that has offered solace in the darkest hours and clarity in moments of confusion. We'll journey together through 100 lessons, each one a stepping stone toward greater peace, resilience, and understanding. From the fundamental truths about what we can and cannot control, to the profound practice of loving our fate. From the morning rituals that shaped the minds of ancient philosophers, to the evening reflections that brought them wisdom. You'll discover how to face adversity with courage, how to treat others with justice, how to master your emotions without suppressing them, and how to live each day with purpose and virtue. Some of what you hear tonight might challenge assumptions you've held for years. Other lessons might feel like truths you've always known but never had words for. And that's perfectly fine. The beauty of Stoicism lies not in rigid dogma, but in practical wisdom that adapts to each person's journey. These aren't commandments carved in stone, but invitations to experiment, to question, and to grow. Before we begin this exploration, if these calm, thoughtful journeys through philosophy help you unwind or give you a peaceful way to end your day, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It helps others discover this quiet space for learning and reflection, one curious mind at a time. Now, let's begin our walk through these ancient gardens. Let the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca wash over you like a gentle stream. There's no rush, no pressure, no test waiting at the end. Just 100 simple lessons, quietly offered, patiently shared. The foundation, understanding Stoicism. Before we dive into the individual lessons, it helps to understand what Stoicism actually is, where it came from, and why it continues to resonate so powerfully in our modern world over 2 millennia after its founding. Stoicism began in Athens around 300 years before the Common Era. A merchant named Zeno of Citium survived a shipwreck and found himself in Athens with nothing. While browsing a bookshop, he encountered the teachings of Socrates and felt something shift within him. He sought out philosophers, learned from them, and eventually began teaching his own interpretation of how to live a good life. He would meet his students in a painted colonnade called the Stoic, and from this meeting place the philosophy took its name, Stoicism. But Stoicism truly flourished in Rome. It evolved from abstract theory into practical guidance for living. 3 voices from this Roman period speak to us most clearly across the centuries. First, Seneca, a wealthy statesman and advisor to emperors who wrote letters filled with advice on everything from dealing with anger to accepting mortality. His words carried the weight of someone who had experienced both power and disgrace, wealth and fear of death. He lived through the reign of multiple emperors, served as tutor and advisor to Nero, accumulated great wealth, and yet maintained throughout his life a philosophical practice that emphasized simplicity and virtue over material success. Then there was Epictetus, born into slavery around 50 of the Common Era. According to ancient accounts, he walked with a permanent limp, though the exact cause remains unclear. Some sources suggest it resulted from mistreatment during his time as a slave. Despite these hardships, he became one of philosophy's most influential teachers. After gaining his freedom, he established a school where he taught until his death. His student Arrian recorded his teachings, and they survive as the Discourses and the Enchiridion, a handbook for living. Epictetus spoke with the authority of someone who had nothing, who had been treated as property, yet who discovered freedom in the one place no one could take it from him, his own mind. His teachings emphasize radical acceptance of what we cannot control, and total responsibility for our own judgments and reactions. And finally, Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, from 161 to 180 of the Common Era. He ruled during plague, war, and constant crisis. The Antonine Plague killed millions. Germanic tribes threatened the northern borders. Political intrigue surrounded him. His own family caused him grief. Yet each night, in his military tent or palace chamber, he wrote meditations to himself, reminders of Stoic principles to help him face the next day. His private journal, never intended for publication, became one of the most beloved philosophical texts ever written. Here was the most powerful man in the world, reminding himself daily of his smallness, his mortality, his duty to others, his need to practice patience and virtue. These three men, from vastly different stations in life, all found the same truths valuable. The slave, the senator, and the emperor all turned to Stoicism because it worked. It wasn't just theory. It was a tested, practical philosophy for navigating the chaos and uncertainty of human existence. Their writings survive today, translated into dozens of languages, read by millions, still offering the same guidance they offered 2,000 years ago. At its heart, Stoicism teaches us to live in accordance with nature. Not nature in the sense of trees and rivers, though the Stoics certainly appreciated the natural world and drew lessons from it. Rather, they meant human nature, specifically our nature as rational beings. They believed that what separates humans from other animals is our capacity for reason, for reflective thought, for choosing our responses rather than simply reacting on instinct. A dog cannot reflect on its own behavior and choose to act differently. A human can. This capacity for rational self-direction is what makes us human, and using it well is what makes us virtuous. The Stoics observed that suffering comes not from external events themselves, but from our judgments about those events. This is perhaps their most fundamental insight. A storm is neither good nor bad. It simply is. It's a natural phenomenon, the result of atmospheric conditions. Our house flooding is neither good nor bad in itself. It's an event, a circumstance. What creates our suffering is our interpretation, our attachment, our expectations. We judge the flood as terrible, as something that shouldn't have happened, as evidence of our bad luck or the universe's unfairness. These judgments create our emotional suffering, which is often far greater than the actual practical difficulty of dealing with the flood. They also believe that virtue, excellence of character, is the only true good. Not wealth, not health, not pleasure, not reputation, not even life itself, but virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. Everything else falls into the category of what they called preferred indifference. This strange term needs explanation. Indifferent means these things don't affect your ability to live well, to be happy in the deepest sense. They're neither good nor bad for your essential well-being. Preferred means you're not crazy to have preferences about them. Of course, you prefer health to sickness, wealth to poverty, life to death. But these preferences should be held lightly, not desperately, because these things don't determine whether you live well or poorly. Only your character does that, only virtue. This philosophy gained such popularity in Rome because it offered something rare and precious, a way to maintain inner peace and dignity regardless of circumstances. In a world of constant political intrigue, where fortunes could change overnight, where plague could strike anyone, where wars raged at the borders, where emperors could turn on their advisors without warning, Stoicism provided an anchor. It taught people that while they couldn't control the chaos around them, they could master themselves. And that self-mastery, that inner citadel, as Marcus Aurelius called it, was enough. It was sufficient for happiness, for living well, for maintaining dignity and purpose, even in the worst circumstances. Why does Stoicism matter today? Because our world, despite all its technological advances, remains fundamentally uncertain and often chaotic. We face information overload from constant news and social media. We face comparison and competition made visible and unavoidable by digital platforms. We face economic anxiety about employment, housing, retirement. We face political polarization that strains relationships and communities. We face climate concerns about the future of our planet. We face personal crises of meaning, identity, and connection that technology can't solve and often exacerbates. The Stoics faced plague, war, tyranny, and uncertainty too. Their wisdom, forged in those crucibles, translates remarkably well to our modern struggles. The specifics differ, but the fundamental challenges remain. How to maintain peace of mind when circumstances are difficult, how to treat others well when they treat you poorly, how to find meaning when life seems chaotic, how to face mortality with dignity, how to live according to your values in a world that often doesn't reward virtue. Stoicism doesn't promise to make life easy. It promises to make us stronger, wiser, more resilient. It offers practical tools for managing anxiety, dealing with difficult people, finding meaning in adversity, and living with integrity. It reminds us what we can control and what we cannot, saving us from wasting energy on battles we can never win. It provides a framework for ethical decision-making that doesn't depend on religion or cultural context. It offers daily practices that build psychological strength and emotional regulation. Most importantly, it gives us agency in our own lives by focusing our attention and effort on what we actually have power over, our own minds, choices, and character. In the sections ahead, we'll explore 100 specific lessons drawn from Stoic teachings. These aren't arranged by teacher or by historical period, but by theme, flowing from foundational concepts to daily practices, to deep philosophical insights. Each lesson stands alone, yet they interconnect, weaving together into a complete understanding of wisdom for living well. Some will be familiar if you've encountered Stoicism before. Others might surprise you with their subtlety or challenge you with their difficulty. All are offered in the spirit of the ancient Stoics, as practical guidance for actually living, not just interesting ideas to contemplate. Let's begin with perhaps the most important concept in all of Stoicism, the principle that unlocks almost everything else, the dichotomy of control. The dichotomy of control, lessons 1 through 10. Lesson 1. Some things are up to us and some things are not. This is the first and most fundamental lesson of Stoicism, the opening line of Epictetus' Enchiridion, his handbook for life. At first glance, it seems almost too simple, too obvious to be profound. But look closer. Most of our suffering comes from confusing these two categories. We exhaust ourselves trying to control things outside our power, and we neglect the one domain where we actually have influence: ourselves, our thoughts, our responses, our character. What is actually up to us, according to Epictetus? Only our judgments, our impulses, our desires, and our aversions. In modern terms, how we perceive events, what we choose to do, what we pursue, and what we avoid. That's it. That's the full extent of our control. Everything else, the entire external world, belongs to the category of not up to us. Your body, your property, your reputation, other people's opinions, outcomes of your efforts, the past, the future, the weather, the economy, politics, traffic, whether someone loves you back, whether you get the job, whether you stay healthy, whether you live a long life. All of it, completely outside your control. This seems like bad news at first. We control so little, but it's actually incredibly liberating. Once you truly accept this distinction, you stop wasting energy on impossible battles. You stop ruminating over the past, which cannot be changed. You stop anxious speculation about futures you cannot determine. You stop trying to force other people to behave differently, to think differently, to approve of you. You let go of outcomes and focus entirely on your effort, your intention, your virtue in action. Lesson 2. Focus your attention on what you can control. Now that we know the distinction, the practical application becomes clear. Direct all your mental energy, all your concern, all your planning and effort toward the domain of control. Work on your perceptions. When something happens, pause before judging it good or bad. Ask yourself, is this interpretation true? Is it helpful? What other ways might I view this situation? Are there facts I'm adding judgment to? Work on your choices. You always have a choice in how to respond, even when you have no choice about what's happening. Someone insults you. You cannot control their words, but you can choose whether to be offended, to ignore it, to respond with kindness, or to use it as information about them rather than about you. A project fails. You cannot control the outcome now, but you can choose to learn from it, to try again differently, to maintain your composure and professionalism, to see what this teaches you about improvement. This is where your power lives. Not in controlling circumstances, but in mastering yourself within them. The Stoics called this the inner citadel, a fortress of character that external events cannot breach unless you allow them entry. Marcus Aurelius wrote that no one can prevent you from thinking or acting according to reason and virtue. They might imprison your body, but they cannot touch your mind unless you let them. They might take your possessions, but they cannot take your integrity unless you surrender it. This inner domain of thought and choice is absolutely yours, completely within your power, and nothing external can touch it without your consent. Lesson 3. Accept what you cannot control. Acceptance isn't the same as approval. You don't have to like what happens. You don't have to pretend everything is fine when it isn't. But you do have to accept reality as it is, not as you wish it were. Acceptance means acknowledging that the past is fixed, that other people will act according to their own nature and judgments, that the universe doesn't rearrange itself to match your preferences, that natural laws operate regardless of your desires. This acceptance is where peace lives. Every moment you spend resisting what already is, wishing it were different, demanding that it shouldn't have happened, you create your own suffering. The event itself is neutral. Your resistance to it causes the pain. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that the universe is change and life is opinion. The facts are fixed. Your suffering is optional. He reminded himself constantly to accept what happens without adding the judgment that it shouldn't have happened. It did happen. That's reality. Now what? Consider someone stuck in traffic. The traffic exists. It cannot be changed by frustration or anger. Those emotions don't make the cars move faster. They only make the experience worse, adding psychological suffering to the practical inconvenience. Acceptance doesn't mean passive contentment with traffic. It doesn't mean you can't plan better routes or leave earlier next time. It means acknowledging the current reality without adding emotional suffering to it, then using your control to respond wisely. Perhaps calling ahead to explain you'll be late, or using the time to listen to something interesting, or simply practicing patience as a virtue worth developing. Lesson 4. Your interpretations create your experience. The same event can be viewed through countless different lenses, and each lens creates a different emotional experience. You receive critical feedback at work. Through one lens, this is devastating. Proof that you're incompetent, a personal attack, evidence that you'll never succeed. Through another lens, it's valuable information, a chance to improve, evidence that someone cares enough to help you grow, an opportunity to demonstrate resilience and willingness to learn. The words spoken were the same. The facts are identical. The experience you have depends entirely on your interpretation. The Stoics were adamant about this point. Events are neutral. A death is simply a death. A promotion is simply a promotion. A diagnosis is simply a diagnosis. We add the meaning, the judgment of good or bad, and that judgment creates our emotional response. This insight forms the foundation of modern cognitive behavioral therapy. Psychologists Albert Ellis and Aaron Beck explicitly drew upon Stoic principles when developing therapeutic approaches in the mid-20th century. Their clinical work demonstrates what the Stoics taught philosophically. Our thoughts about events, not the events themselves, largely determine our emotional state. This gives us tremendous power. We cannot always choose what happens, but we can train ourselves to choose how we interpret what happens. A delay becomes an opportunity for patience. A criticism becomes a chance for growth. A loss becomes space for something new. A setback becomes information about what to try differently, not through positive thinking or denial of reality, but through wise reframing, based on accurate observation and virtue-oriented perspective. Lesson 5. Don't wish for events to unfold differently than they do. Epictetus taught this explicitly. Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to happen, but rather wish that what happens the way it happens. Then you will be happy. This seems counterintuitive, perhaps even passive or defeatist. Shouldn't we have preferences? Shouldn't we work toward outcomes we desire? Shouldn't we try to shape reality rather than just accepting it? Yes, absolutely. But there's a crucial distinction. Work toward what you prefer. Make your best effort. Take all actions within your power. But don't attach your peace of mind to getting the specific outcome you want. Hold your preferences lightly, not desperately. When things don't go your way, when reality diverges from your hopes, meet it with equanimity rather than resistance. Accept what is, while continuing to work toward what might be. The student wishes to pass the exam. She absolutely should study, prepare, do her best. She should take the test seriously and try hard. But once the exam is over, once the grade is determined, wishing it were different serves no purpose. It only creates suffering. The moment calls for acceptance of what is, and then choosing the next right action. If she passed, excellent. She can celebrate and move forward. If she didn't, what can she learn? What will she do differently next time? What does this teach her about her preparation or test taking? This is the path forward. not wishing the grade were different. Lesson 6. Distinguish between your actions and their outcomes. You control your actions. You do not control their outcomes. This distinction matters enormously. You can give an excellent presentation, but you cannot control whether you get the promotion. You can be a loving, attentive partner, but you cannot control whether the relationship lasts. You can eat well and exercise faithfully, but you cannot guarantee health or longevity. You can be a patient, engaged parent, but you cannot control how your children ultimately turn out. You can work hard and intelligently, but you cannot control whether your business succeeds. This might seem depressing at first, but it's actually freedom. It means you can do everything right and still experience what looks like failure by conventional measures, and that outcome doesn't reflect on your character or worth. It also means you should never become arrogant about success, because outcomes depend on many factors beyond your control. Timing, luck, others' choices, natural events, economic conditions, countless variables you can't influence. The Stoics would say, control your effort, your intention, your virtue in action. Let go of results. Judge yourself and others not by outcomes, but by the quality of action taken, the integrity of choices made, the virtue demonstrated regardless of results. This focus on process rather than outcome is also practically effective. When you stop obsessing about results you can't control and focus entirely on actions you can control, you usually perform better. Athletes know this. The moment you start thinking about winning instead of your technique, your form suffers. Lesson 7. Other people's opinions are not in your control. This lesson is simple to state, but difficult to embody. What others think of you, whether they approve or disapprove, like you or dislike you, respect you or mock you, praise you or criticize you, is completely outside your control. It depends on their values, their experience, their current mood, their biases, their own psychological needs, countless factors that have nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. Yet, we spend so much energy on reputation, on trying to manage how others perceive us, on seeking approval and avoiding criticism. The Stoics ask, why? Why care about something so entirely outside your control? Why base your self-worth on the fluctuating opinions of others? Epictetus said that if someone speaks badly of you, consider whether what they say is true. If it is, thank them for pointing out a flaw you can now correct. If it isn't, they're simply wrong, and that's their problem, not yours. Either way, you suffer no harm unless you choose to by believing their opinion determines your worth. This doesn't mean being indifferent to others or cruel. It doesn't mean you shouldn't care about anyone's opinion ever. It means not basing your self-worth on their fluctuating judgments. Be good, act virtuously, treat people well, perform your roles competently. Then let them think whatever they will. Some will love you, some will hate you. Many won't think of you at all. None of it changes who you are. None of it determines your worth, your character, your virtue, your integrity. These are yours and yours alone. Lesson 8. You cannot control outcomes, so measure success by effort and virtue. If success means getting what you wanted, you'll be disappointed often because so much of outcome depends on external factors you don't control. But if success means making your best effort, acting with integrity, choosing virtue over vice, then success is always available to you. It's within your control every single moment of every single day. Did you act with wisdom, with courage, with justice toward others, with self-control? If yes, you succeeded regardless of outcome. The outcome doesn't matter for determining whether you lived well in that moment. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself repeatedly that he might not be able to change other people or external events, but he could always choose to respond virtuously. That was his measure of a day well lived. Not what happened to him, but how he responded to what happened. This shift in how we measure ourselves changes everything. We stop being victims of circumstance. We stop making excuses. We stop comparing ourselves to others who might have more advantages or better outcomes. We take full responsibility for what's actually ours, our character, our effort, our choices. And we let go of responsibility for what isn't ours, outcomes, others' behavior, external circumstances. Lesson 9. Prepare for difficulties by reminding yourself they're outside your control. The Stoics practice something called negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils or difficulties. Each morning, they would mentally rehearse potential difficulties they might face that day, not to worry or catastrophize, but to prepare psychologically. They'd remind themselves, these things might happen, and if they do, they're outside my control. I can only control my response. How will I respond? How will I maintain virtue? What challenges might test me, and how will I meet them? Marcus Aurelius wrote famously, "When you first rise in the morning, tell yourself, I will encounter busybodies, ingrates, egomaniacs, liars, the jealous, and cranks. They are all stricken with these afflictions because they don't know the difference between good and evil." He wasn't being pessimistic or cynical. He was preparing himself to meet difficult people with wisdom and patience rather than surprise and reactivity. He was reminding himself that others' behavior is outside his control and their ignorance is pitiable rather than hateful. When we anticipate challenges this way, they lose their power to derail us. We've already accepted that they might occur. We've already decided how we'll respond from virtue rather than reaction. This doesn't mean we can't feel disappointed or frustrated or sad when bad things happen. It means we won't be shocked into reactive behavior that we later regret. We won't be unprepared. We'll have our response ready because we've already considered it. Lesson 10. Freedom comes from wanting what life gives you. The ultimate freedom, according to the Stoics, is internal. No tyrant, no circumstance, no bad luck can touch it. This freedom comes from a simple but profound shift. Instead of constantly demanding that life match your preferences, learn to want what life actually offers. Not passively, not without working to improve things, but with acceptance as your baseline state. Epictetus, who lived as a slave and then as a free man, said that the essence of freedom is not needing what you don't have. It's being content with what is while working toward what might be. When you stop demanding that reality conform to your expectations, when you stop seeing every unwanted event as an outrage, as something that shouldn't have happened, you become free. Free from frustration, from resentment, from the exhausting work of fighting against reality. This is the dichotomy of control fully embodied. Total effort on what you control, total acceptance of what you don't. This is the foundation upon which all other Stoic practices rest. Master this distinction, and everything else becomes clearer, easier, more natural. Your energy goes where it can actually make a difference. Your peace of mind stops depending on things you can't control. Your happiness becomes something you cultivate internally rather than chase externally. The 4 cardinal virtues, lessons 11 through 25. Lesson 11. Virtue is the only true good. The Stoics made a radical claim that confused their contemporaries and confuses people today. They said virtue, excellence of character, is the only good. Wealth, health, pleasure, reputation, even life itself are not goods. They're preferred indifference. This doesn't mean the Stoics didn't prefer health to sickness or wealth to poverty. It means these things don't determine whether you live well. Only virtue does that. Why this seemingly extreme position? Because everything except virtue depends on factors outside your control. You can lose wealth, health, reputation through no fault of your own, through bad luck or others' actions or natural events. But you cannot lose virtue unless you choose to abandon it. It's the only thing that's truly yours, the only thing that remains stable across all circumstances, the only thing that depends entirely on your choices. A virtuous person can be happy even in poverty or sickness or disgrace. A vicious person cannot be happy even with wealth and health and fame, because their character remains corrupted. This means that every moment, regardless of your circumstances, you have the opportunity to be good, to practice virtue. That opportunity never goes away. It's always available, always within reach. Your external situation might be terrible. You might be sick, poor, imprisoned, facing death. But you can still choose courage over cowardice, honesty over deception, justice over selfishness, wisdom over foolishness. And in making that choice, you preserve what truly matters: your character, your dignity, your essential humanity. Lesson 12. Wisdom is knowing what is truly good, bad, and indifferent. The first cardinal virtue is wisdom, often called prudence or practical wisdom. The Greek word is phronesis. This isn't just knowledge or intelligence or information. It's the capacity to make sound judgments, to see clearly, to distinguish what truly matters from what doesn't, to know the right action in each circumstance, to apply knowledge wisely to actual living. The wise person knows that virtue alone is good, vice alone is bad, and everything else is indifferent to our essential happiness. This clarity cuts through so much confusion and anxiety. We stop chasing after things that can't make us happy. We stop fearing things that can't harm our true good. We focus on what actually matters, becoming better people, developing excellent character, living according to nature and reason. Wisdom also means understanding the dichotomy of control, recognizing our nature as rational and social beings, seeing how things truly are rather than how we wish they were, learning from experience, studying how the world works, applying reason to life's challenges. The Stoics believed wisdom could be developed through philosophy, through reflection, through paying careful attention to life, through learning from both successes and failures. Lesson 13. Courage is the strength to do what's right despite fear. The second cardinal virtue is courage, Andrea in Greek, fortitudo in Latin. We often think of courage as physical bravery, facing danger without flinching, charging into battle, risking life for a cause. But the Stoics understood courage more broadly. It's the strength to endure hardship, to persist in the face of difficulty, to do what's right even when it's frightening or unpopular or costly. Courage includes endurance, patience under suffering, confidence in your ability to face challenges, cheerfulness in adversity. It means speaking truth, even when silence would be easier and safer. It means standing up for justice, even when it costs you socially or professionally. It means persisting toward your goals despite setbacks and obstacles. The courageous person isn't someone who never feels fear. Fear is natural, appropriate to actual dangers. Courage is feeling the fear and acting virtuously anyway. Seneca wrote extensively about how fortune tests us, how adversity reveals character. He said the courageous person welcomes these tests, not because they enjoy suffering, but because difficulty is the gymnasium where strength is built. Without challenges, we can never know what we're capable of. Without the opportunity to face fear and choose virtue anyway, we can never develop true courage. Lesson 14. Justice is treating others as they deserve, with fairness and kindness. The third cardinal virtue is justice, dichotomy in Greek. Marcus Aurelius considered this the most important virtue, the source of all others. Justice, in the Stoic sense, encompasses our entire relationship with other people and with society. It's about fairness, honesty, kindness, generosity, fulfilling our roles and responsibilities to others and to the community. The Stoics believed humans are naturally social creatures, made for cooperation and mutual benefit. We're like cells in a larger organism, the human community. What harms the whole harms us. What benefits the whole benefits us. Justice recognizes this interdependence and asks us to act accordingly. Be honest in dealings with others, keep promises, contribute to the common good, treat people with dignity, help when you can, do no harm. This isn't just external behavior. Justice requires cultivating the right attitudes toward others: goodwill, forgiveness, patience, understanding. Recognizing that people who wrong us do so from ignorance, not from essential evil. They simply don't know the difference between good and bad. They think they'll benefit from wrongdoing, but they actually harm themselves most through vice. This understanding allows us to respond to wrongs with education rather than vengeance, with compassion rather than hatred. Lesson 15. Temperance is moderation and self-control in all things. The fourth cardinal virtue is temperance, sophrosine in Greek, temperantia in Latin. Often translated as moderation or self-control, temperance is about maintaining proper proportion in life, avoiding excess, mastering our desires and impulses, finding the right balance in all activities. The temperate person doesn't abstain from pleasure entirely. That would be unrealistic and arguably against nature. Rather, they enjoy pleasures appropriately, in moderation, without becoming enslaved to them. They eat and drink for nourishment and reasonable enjoyment, not to excess. They pursue wealth for security and to help others, not as an end in itself or as a measure of worth. They engage with sex and relationships appropriately, not compulsively or destructively. Temperance also means emotional regulation, not swinging wildly between euphoria and despair based on externals. The temperate person maintains equanimity, steady and balanced regardless of circumstances. They're organized, disciplined, thoughtful about how they spend time and energy. Seneca wrote extensively about the importance of temperance, warning against luxury and excess that make us soft, dependent on comfort, unable to handle hardship when it inevitably comes. Lesson 16. The virtues are interconnected and inseparable. The Stoics taught that the four cardinal virtues aren't separate qualities you can possess independently. They're different aspects of the same thing, the perfected, rational soul. To have true wisdom, you must have courage to act on what you know. To have true courage, you need wisdom to discern what's actually worth standing up for. Justice requires wisdom to know what's fair, and courage to do what's right, and temperance to treat others moderately. Temperance requires wisdom to know what's appropriate, and courage to resist temptation. Think of it like a single light shining through four windows. The light is virtue, excellence of character. The windows are wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Each window colors and directs the light differently, reveals a different aspect. but it's the same essential light. You cannot truly have one virtue without the others, and growing in one virtue strengthens all the rest. Lesson 17. Living virtuously is living according to nature. The Stoics believed the goal of life was to live in accordance with nature. This meant understanding your nature as a rational, social being, and fulfilling that nature excellently. Reason is what distinguishes humans from other animals. Using reason well, perfecting your rational capacity, is the same as virtue. The virtuous life is the natural life for humans. This also means accepting your place in the larger natural order. You're a small part of an immense cosmos, governed by natural laws. Fighting against this nature is futile and creates suffering. Accepting it, understanding your role, acting in harmony with it. This is wisdom. You were made to live in community with others. Isolating yourself, treating others cruelly, being selfish. All of this goes against your nature. Justice is natural. Cooperation is natural. Virtue aligns you with the fundamental nature of reality. Lesson 18. Virtue is sufficient for happiness. This was one of the most controversial Stoic claims. They said that virtue alone is enough for eudaimonia, for human flourishing or happiness. You don't need anything else. Not health, not wealth, not pleasure, not reputation, not even life itself. The virtuous person is happy even in the worst external circumstances. This seems extreme, perhaps even absurd, but the Stoics weren't claiming that the virtuous person feels no pain. Pain is a natural physical response to certain stimuli. They were saying that the person's essential happiness, their deep sense of well-being, their knowledge that they're living well, remains intact because it depends only on virtue, which remains intact regardless of circumstances. In practical terms, this means your happiness is always within your control. Bad things happen. People suffer physically and emotionally, but you can maintain inner peace, dignity, and a sense of living well by continually choosing virtue. Your circumstances don't determine your worth or your well-being. Your character does. And character is always in your power to maintain or improve. Lesson 19. Virtue is its own reward. We often think of virtue as a means to an end, something we practice to get good outcomes. Be honest and you'll be trusted. Be kind and you'll have friends. Work hard and you'll succeed. The Stoics turn this around. Virtue is the end. It's not for the sake of anything else. You don't practice honesty to get a good reputation. You practice honesty because it's good, because it's what a rational, social being ought to do, because it's part of living excellently. This removes so much of the calculation and compromise from ethics. You don't need to figure out if being honest will benefit you in this particular instance. You're honest, period. Not because of consequences, but because of character. This makes ethical life simpler, clearer, more reliable. It also means you can act virtuously, even when it costs you, when it brings no external reward, when no one sees or acknowledges it. The reward is in the acting itself, in being the kind of person who acts that way. Lesson 20. Practice virtue daily through small actions. Virtue isn't just about grand moral dilemmas or dramatic moments. It's built through countless small choices. Being patient when you're frustrated, being kind when you're stressed, listening carefully when you'd rather interrupt, keeping a promise even when it's inconvenient, resisting the urge to gossip, exercising when you don't feel like it, eating moderately when you want to overindulge, speaking truthfully when a lie would be easier. These mundane moments are where character is forged. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this. Each interaction, each decision, no matter how small, was an opportunity to practice virtue or vice. He tried to treat every moment as significant, as a chance to be the person he wanted to be. Not perfectly, he often acknowledged his failures, but persistently, continually returning to the practice after each stumble. The beautiful thing about this approach is that you always have opportunities. You don't need special circumstances or dramatic challenges. Right now, today, in your ordinary life, you can practice wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Each practice strengthens you, making the next choice a little easier, building habits of virtue that eventually become second nature. Lesson 21. Your character is revealed in your actions, not your intentions. We often judge ourselves by our intentions while judging others by their actions. The Stoics would say, judge everyone, including yourself, by actions. Intentions matter, they show the direction of will, but actions reveal character more truly. You can intend to be patient all day, but if you snap at everyone you meet, you're not being patient. You're being irritable, regardless of your intentions. This is humbling, but useful. It means you can't fool yourself with good intentions while behaving badly. It also means you need to look at patterns of behavior to assess someone's character, including your own. One harsh word doesn't make you cruel if your general pattern is kindness. One generous act doesn't make you just if your general pattern is selfishness. Character is revealed in consistent action over time. The Stoics emphasize philosophy as a way of life, not just a way of thinking. Studying ethics means nothing if you don't practice it. Reading about virtue is worthless if you don't embody it in your actual choices and behaviors. Your life, your actual patterns of action, that's the test of whether you've learned anything at all. Lesson 22. Ignorance, not malice, is the source of vice. When someone wrongs you, your first impulse might be to assume malice, to believe they meant to cause harm out of evil intent. The Stoics saw it differently. They believed that people do wrong because they don't understand what's truly good. They pursue wealth or power or pleasure, thinking these will make them happy. They lie or cheat or harm others thinking they'll benefit. But they're wrong. These actions harm them most of all, corrupting their character, destroying their peace, separating them from their true nature. This perspective transforms how you respond to wrongs. If someone harms you out of ignorance rather than malice, you can feel compassion rather than hatred. You can try to educate rather than simply punish. You can forgive more easily because you understand they're victims of their own misunderstanding. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about this, reminding himself that people who wrong him simply don't know better. They're like someone who thinks bitter food is sweet. They're mistaken, perhaps pitiably so, but not evil. This doesn't mean you have to tolerate ongoing harm or abuse. You can set boundaries, remove yourself from toxic relationships, seek justice for wrongdoing, all while maintaining this understanding. The person harming you is harming themselves most of all through vice. Respond from wisdom and virtue rather than from reactive anger or desire for vengeance. Lesson 23. Work on yourself before judging others. Seneca advised examining your own faults before criticizing others. Marcus Aurelius asked himself, what fault of mine resembles what I'm criticizing in someone else? This isn't about accepting wrongs or never pointing out problems. It's about humility, about recognizing that we all struggle with vice, we all fall short of virtue, we all have work to do on ourselves. When you focus on your own character development, you have less energy for judging others. You recognize how difficult virtue is, how often you yourself fail, and this makes you more patient with others' failures. You can still speak truth, can still call out injustice, can still maintain standards, but you do so from humility rather than superiority, from compassion rather than contempt. This practice also makes you more effective. Hypocrites have little moral authority. If you want to influence others toward good, you need to embody it yourself. As Gandhi supposedly said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." The Stoics would agree completely. Your example speaks louder than your words. Lesson 24. Virtue requires continuous practice and attention. You never graduate from virtue school. Even Marcus Aurelius, a philosopher and emperor who had studied Stoicism his entire life, spent every night writing reminders to himself about basic Stoic principles. Why? Because he knew how easy it is to forget, to slip back into old patterns, to let emotion override reason, to choose vice over virtue in moments of weakness or distraction. Virtue is like physical fitness. You can't exercise once and stay fit forever. You need regular practice, ongoing attention, constant reinforcement. The moment you think you've mastered virtue, you're probably about to fall. Humility and vigilance are essential. Every day brings new opportunities to practice, new challenges to face, new ways you might fail or succeed. The good news is that each practice, no matter how small, contributes to your development. You're either getting better or getting worse. There's no standing still in character development. Each virtuous choice makes the next one slightly easier, building neural pathways and habits. Each vicious choice makes virtue slightly harder, reinforcing bad patterns. The path is long, but progress is genuinely possible through persistent practice. Lesson 25. The goal is progress, not perfection. The Stoics acknowledge that perfect wisdom, perfect virtue, might be impossible for most people. They spoke of the sage, the perfectly wise person, almost as an ideal to aspire toward, rather than an achievable state that anyone actually reaches. What matters isn't reaching perfection, but moving toward it, making progress, becoming better than you were yesterday. Every step forward counts. Every moment of patience instead of anger. Every act of honesty instead of deception. Every instance of courage instead of cowardice. These all matter. They move you in the right direction. Even if you're nowhere near perfection, you'll still fail. You'll still make mistakes. That's part of being human, part of the learning process. The question is, are you learning from those mistakes? Are you trying again? Are you committed to the journey even knowing you'll stumble along the way? Seneca wrote that what matters isn't how many times you fall, but whether you get back up and continue forward. The Stoic path isn't about never falling. It's about persistent effort toward virtue, continual self-examination, ongoing practice, despite all failures and setbacks. Progress, not perfection. Growth, not arrival. The journey itself is the goal. Daily Stoic practices. Lessons 26 through 40. Lesson 26. Begin each day with morning meditation. The Stoics practiced a morning ritual, a kind of meditation or mental preparation for the day ahead. This wasn't passive sitting in silence, though that can be valuable too. It was active contemplation, rehearsing Stoic principles, preparing for challenges, setting intentions for how to live virtuously that day. Epictetus recommended asking yourself each morning, what do I still lack to achieve freedom from destructive emotions? What do I need to reach tranquility? What am I? A rational being. These questions orient you toward your goal, remind you of your nature, and create space for philosophical reflection before the rush of the day begins. They help you approach the day intentionally rather than reactively. Marcus Aurelius used his morning time to prepare for difficult people he might encounter. He'd remind himself that some people are lazy, ungrateful, violent, treacherous, envious. They're like this because they don't know good from evil. This mental preparation meant he wasn't surprised by human failings. He was ready to respond with patience and wisdom, rather than shock and reactivity. He'd already accepted that these encounters might occur and decided how to maintain virtue through them. You can adapt this practice to your own life. Even 5 minutes each morning, thinking about Stoic principles, setting an intention to practice virtue, mentally rehearsing challenges you might face and how you'll respond virtuously. This can transform your day. It's like warming up before exercise. You're preparing your mind for what's ahead, making virtue more likely by thinking about it consciously before circumstances demand it. Lesson 27. End each day with evening reflection. Just as important as the morning practice is the evening reflection. Before sleep, take time to review your day honestly. What went well? Where did you practice virtue successfully? Where did you fail? What can you learn from both successes and failures? The Stoics weren't dwelling on failure to beat themselves up. They were learning, adjusting, preparing to do better tomorrow. Seneca described examining his conscience each evening. He'd ask himself, what ailment of yours have you cured today? What failing have you resisted? Where can you show improvement? This isn't about guilt or shame or harsh self-criticism. It's about honest self-assessment in service of growth. You're not comparing yourself to others or to some impossible standard. You're simply asking, am I becoming better? Am I making progress on the path toward virtue? This practice also helps with sleep. You're not ruminating on the day's problems or worrying about tomorrow's challenges. You're processing, learning, then letting go. The day is done. You did your best with the understanding you had. Tomorrow, you'll try again with what you learned today. This mindset allows for genuine rest, for release of the day's concerns. Lesson 28. Practice negative visualization to build resilience and gratitude. One of the most distinctive Stoic practices is negative visualization, what they called premeditatio malorum. Each day, you deliberately imagine potential losses or difficulties, not to worry or catastrophize, but to prepare psychologically and to appreciate what you currently have more deeply. Imagine losing your job. If it happened, would you survive? Yes, you'd figure it out. You'd find another way. This reduces fear of the possibility while you still have the job. It also makes you grateful you currently have employment, helps you not take it for granted. Imagine losing your health. You'd still have choices about how to respond. You'd still be able to practice virtue. This makes you appreciate your current health more deeply while it lasts. Imagine losing a loved one. The Stoics would literally say goodnight to family as if it might be the last time. This wasn't morbid. It made them present, grateful, aware of life's preciousness and impermanence. This practice seems counterintuitive. Shouldn't we focus on positive things? But negativity isn't the point. Realism is. Bad things do happen to everyone eventually. By anticipating them mentally, you rob them of the power to devastate you through surprise. You've already accepted that they might occur. You've already decided how you'll respond virtuously. And paradoxically, this preparation makes you more joyful now, more grateful for what you have while you have it, less likely to take people and circumstances for granted. Lesson 29. Remember your mortality daily. Memento mori. Remember death. Remember, you will die. This was a central Stoic practice. They'd remind themselves regularly that death could come at any moment, that life is short and fleeting, that every goodbye might be the last, that time is limited and precious. According to ancient Roman tradition, after a military triumph, a slave would stand behind the victorious general throughout the celebration, whispering in his ear, "Remember, you are mortal." This might sound depressing, morbid, unnecessarily dark. It's actually the opposite. Remembering death clarifies priorities like nothing else. It shows what truly matters and what doesn't. It makes trivial concerns shrink to their proper size. Are you really going to waste your short life angry at traffic, nursing grudges over small slights, pursuing empty status symbols, worrying what strangers think of you? Death is coming for all of us. What will you do with the time you have? The practice of memento mori also counters the human tendency to act as if we have infinite time. We procrastinate on what matters. We take people for granted, assuming they'll always be around. We delay living according to our values, thinking we'll start tomorrow or next year. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. The people you love might not be here next year, or next week, or tomorrow. Today is all you definitively have. Death awareness makes you present, purposeful, truly alive to the moment you're in, rather than constantly postponing real living. Lesson 30. Keep a Stoic journal for self-examination. Writing was a crucial Stoic practice. Marcus Aurelius's meditations are essentially his personal journal, never intended for others to read. Seneca wrote letters to his friend Lucilius that also functioned as philosophical exercises, working through ideas in writing. Writing forces clarity of thought. It externalizes internal processes. It creates space for reflection and honest self-examination. Your Stoic journal might include daily reflections on successes and failures in practicing virtue, questions you're wrestling with philosophically, quotes or passages that resonate with you and why, plans for how to handle difficult situations virtuously, gratitudes, reminders of principles you need to embody, observations about your patterns of thought and behavior. The format doesn't matter much. The practice of writing does. Something about translating thought into written language makes it more concrete, more honest, harder to deceive yourself. You can see patterns across entries that aren't visible when thoughts just swirl in your head. You can track progress or lack of it over time. You can return to previous insights when you need them. A journal becomes a tool for self-knowledge and self-improvement, a conversation with yourself about how to live better. Lesson 31. Practice voluntary discomfort to build resilience. The Stoics didn't just think about hardship philosophically, they practiced it voluntarily. Seneca, though extremely wealthy, would occasionally eat only simple foods and wear rough clothes. He'd sleep on hard surfaces, not as punishment or self-flagellation, but as training. He wanted to prove to himself, if fortune took everything away, could I still be happy? The answer, consistently, was yes. He didn't need luxury for well-being. This practice has multiple benefits. It builds confidence that you can handle difficulty. It reduces fear of losing comfort or wealth or status. It makes you genuinely grateful for normal comforts when you return to them. It weakens the hold that luxury and ease have on you. You become less dependent on circumstances, more internally free, more resilient. Modern versions of this might include cold showers, intermittent fasting, minimalism experiments, sleeping on the floor occasionally, going without some convenience you normally rely on, taking on physical challenges. Not to suffer pointlessly, but to prove you don't need these things for happiness. You prefer them, certainly, but you don't need them. That distinction is freedom. Lesson 32. Regularly contemplate nature to gain perspective. The Stoics found wisdom in observing nature. Marcus Aurelius wrote about watching the patterns of leaves on water, the movement of grain in wind, the behavior of animals, the cycles of seasons. Nature demonstrates impermanence, demonstrates the cycle of growth and decay, demonstrates that you're part of something vast and ancient that operates by its own laws, regardless of your preferences. When your problems feel overwhelming, contemplate the stars. They've been wheeling through space for billions of years. They'll continue long after you're gone. Your current crisis, however serious it feels, is a tiny blip in cosmic time and space. This isn't to dismiss your pain or minimize real problems. It's to provide scale, to remind you that you're part of something larger, to reduce the tyranny of the urgent and personal. Nature also models acceptance. The tree doesn't complain about winter or resist the changing seasons. The river doesn't resist its banks, but flows within them. Animals don't worry about tomorrow or regret yesterday. They accept what is and respond appropriately in the present. Obviously, humans are different. We have reason and imagination and memory. But there's something to learn from nature's ready acceptance of change. It's going with, rather than fighting against the natural order of things. Lesson 33. Practice gratitude for what you have. The Stoics recommended regularly pausing to appreciate what you have, rather than fixating on what you lack. This seems simple, perhaps obvious, but it's profound in practice and difficult to maintain. So much of our dissatisfaction comes from constant comparison, from focusing on gaps rather than gifts, from taking the good for granted while emphasizing the bad. Make gratitude a daily practice. Each evening, note 3 things you're grateful for. They don't need to be dramatic or major. Clean water to drink, a comfortable bed to sleep in, a conversation with a friend, your senses functioning, the ability to read and learn, food to eat. Whatever is present and real and good in your life right now. This rewires your attention over time. You notice more good things because you're actively looking for them, rather than only noticing problems. This isn't about forcing toxic positivity or denying real problems that need addressing. It's about balance and accurate perception. Problems exist, so do blessings. Most of us default to noticing problems, threats, what's wrong, what's missing. We need to deliberately practice noticing blessings to achieve anything, like an accurate, balanced picture of reality. Gratitude isn't naive. It's seeing what's actually there instead of only what isn't. Lesson 34. Read Stoic text regularly for ongoing education. The Stoics didn't view philosophy as something you learn once and then know forever. It's a lifelong practice requiring ongoing study and reinforcement. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor and student of multiple philosophers, still read Epictetus regularly. He still reminded himself of basic principles he'd known for decades. Why? Because knowing intellectually isn't the same as embodying consistently. Reading exposes you to wisdom you couldn't generate yourself from scratch. It challenges your thinking. It provides language for experiences you've had but couldn't articulate well. It reminds you of truths you've forgotten in the press of daily life. Different passages resonate at different life stages. Something you read at 20 means something different at 40 or 60. Set aside regular time for philosophical reading, even just 10 minutes daily. Read Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca. Read modern interpretations and applications of Stoicism. Let these texts function like an external conscience, like a wise friend offering counsel when you're confused or struggling, like a North Star orienting you when you've drifted off course in the chaos of life. Lesson 35. Seek out philosophical community and conversation. While Stoicism emphasizes self-reliance and internal sources of well-being, the Stoics also valued community. They studied together, discussed philosophy together, challenged each other's thinking. Epictetus ran a school where students lived and learned together. Seneca wrote letters to friends about philosophical matters. Marcus Aurelius had multiple philosophy tutors throughout his life, who he credited in his meditations. Philosophical practice is enhanced by community. Others see your blind spots. They ask questions you haven't considered. They offer different perspectives and interpretations. They hold you accountable to your stated values. They model virtues you're struggling with. They normalize the difficulty of the path while encouraging perseverance. Philosophy becomes less abstract when you discuss it with real people facing real challenges. This might mean joining a local or online Stoic group, finding a friend interested in philosophy to read and discuss texts with, or simply talking about these ideas with family or colleagues when appropriate. The form doesn't matter as much as the value of engaging ideas actively with others rather than only internally. Lesson 36. Apply Stoic principles to specific challenges you face. Philosophy isn't just abstract theory to contemplate. It's a practical toolkit for living, a set of principles to apply to actual situations. When you face a challenge, don't just react emotionally or habitually. Pause. Ask, what would a Stoic do here? What principles apply? How can I respond virtuously instead of reactively? Lost a job? Remember the dichotomy of control. You can't change what happened. You can control your response. How will you respond with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance? Someone insulted you? Remember that their opinion is outside your control, and their words can't harm your character unless you judge them as harmful. How will you maintain equanimity and perhaps respond with kindness or indifference? The more you practice applying philosophy to actual situations, the more automatic it becomes. Eventually, you don't need to consciously think through principles. Your character has been shaped by them through repeated practice. You naturally respond more wisely, more virtuously, more skillfully. But this automaticity comes only from deliberate practice of applying principles consciously to concrete situations. Lesson 37. Practice minimalism or intentional simplicity. Many Stoics lived simply despite having access to wealth and luxury. Seneca, extremely wealthy, regularly practiced living on little. Marcus Aurelius maintained relatively simple tastes despite imperial resources. They understood that the more you need externally, the less free you are internally. The more attached you become to possessions and comforts, the more vulnerable you are to their loss. Simplicity practice might mean decluttering your physical space, owning less stuff, living more minimally in general. It might mean being more intentional about purchases, asking whether you actually need something or just want it temporarily. It might mean periodically giving things away, practicing non-attachment. The goal isn't poverty for its own sake. It's freedom from dependence on externals, from being enslaved to possessions and the need to acquire and maintain them. This practice also reveals how little you actually need to be content. So much of what we think we need turns out to be optional once we do without it for a while. This realization is genuinely liberating. You don't need a bigger house, fancier car, nicer clothes, latest technology to be happy. You can be happy now with what you have, which is probably far more than most humans throughout history have had. Lesson 38. Transform anger through understanding. Seneca wrote an entire treatise on anger, calling it a brief madness that damages both parties involved. The angry person suffers more than their target from the physiological and psychological effects of rage. The Stoics didn't advocate suppressing anger or pretending you don't feel it. They advocated understanding its source and transforming it through reason. When you feel anger rising, pause. Why are you angry? What judgment are you making that creates this emotion? Often anger comes from thinking something shouldn't have happened, that someone shouldn't have acted as they did, but should implies control and obligation. Do you control other people's behavior? No. Then why expect them to behave according to your preferences? They acted according to their nature, their understanding, their circumstances at that moment. Your anger doesn't change what happened. It only harms you through the emotion itself. This doesn't mean accepting injustice passively or never setting boundaries. You can work to change situations, set limits, seek justice, all without anger fueling your actions. In fact, you usually do these things more effectively from calm rationality than from reactive rage. Transform anger into determination, into clarity about what needs to change, into action based on justice rather than emotion. Lesson 39. Use the view from above for perspective. Marcus Aurelius practiced a meditation he called the view from above. You imagine zooming out, seeing your city from high up, then your country, then the earth, then the solar system, the galaxy, the universe. From this cosmic perspective, your problems shrink dramatically. You see yourself as one tiny being among billions, living a brief moment in cosmic time. This isn't nihilistic or meant to make your life meaningless. It right-sizes your concerns. That argument you're having, that embarrassment you're dwelling on, that disappointment you can't let go of. From the cosmic view, they're almost invisible, utterly insignificant in the grand scheme. This perspective liberates. It allows you to take your life seriously without taking yourself too seriously, to care about things without being destroyed when they go wrong. The view from above also reveals connections. You see how everything is related, how we're all part of one vast system, how your actions ripple outward, how you're not separate from, but embedded in the whole natural order. This cultivates both humility about your individual importance and responsibility for your impact on the interconnected whole. Lesson 40. Practice presence and mindfulness in each moment. The Stoics emphasize being fully present to what's happening now, not dwelling on past regrets or future anxieties, but attending fully to the present moment, which is the only time you have any real control or any real experience. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly to focus on the task at hand, to be wholly engaged in whatever he was currently doing. This is mindfulness practice. When you're eating, eat. Actually taste the food. When you're walking, walk. Feel your body moving through space. When someone speaks, listen. Really listen to their words instead of planning your response. When you're working, work. Give your full attention to the task. The mind constantly wants to be elsewhere, planning or remembering or worrying. Gently return it to now, to this moment, to what's actually happening. Present moment awareness reduces suffering significantly. Suffering lives primarily in past and future, in regret and anxiety. The present moment, even if difficult, is usually manageable. You're breathing, you're alive, you're here. This awareness grounds you, gives you access to your actual power, which exists only now, and helps you engage more fully with life instead of spending it lost in thought about times that aren't now, amor fati, and embracing fate. Lessons 41 through 50. Lesson 41. Learn to love your fate, whatever it brings. Amor fati, love of fate, is perhaps the ultimate Stoic practice. It goes beyond accepting what happens to actively loving it, embracing it, seeing it as necessary, and even good. This seems impossible at first. How can you love tragedy, loss, pain, failure? The Stoics would say, because it's real, because it happened, because it's part of your life story, because fighting against it creates additional and unnecessary suffering beyond the event itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote that whatever happens to you has been waiting to happen since the beginning of time, woven into the fabric of causation. The infinitely complex web of causes that led to this moment is completely beyond your control. This event is part of your fate, your portion of the universe unfolding. You can resist it and be miserable, adding psychological suffering to practical difficulty. Or you can accept it, even love it as part of your story, and potentially find meaning or growth through it. Amor fati doesn't mean liking everything that happens, or pretending pain doesn't hurt. You can hate cancer while loving your fate of facing and dealing with cancer, which teaches you strength or compassion or presence you might not have developed otherwise. You can hate injustice while loving your fate of fighting injustice, which reveals your character and gives you purpose. The event itself might be painful. Your relationship to it, your stance toward it, can still be one of acceptance and even grateful embrace. Lesson 42. The obstacle is the way forward. This is how Marcus Aurelius expressed it. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Obstacles aren't separate from your path forward. They are the path. The difficulty is what teaches, what tests, what transforms you. Without resistance, there's no growth. Without challenges, you never discover what you're capable of. Every problem is an opportunity to practice virtue, which is the whole point of life according to the Stoics. Someone treats you unfairly, opportunity to practice justice and forgiveness and patience. You lose something valuable, opportunity to practice detachment and resilience and acceptance. You face a difficult choice with no clear right answer, opportunity to practice wisdom and courage. The obstacle provides exactly the training you need for the virtue you most need to develop. This reframing is powerfully transformative. You stop seeing obstacles as things to avoid or bemoan. You see them as the raw material of character development, as necessary for growth, as actually valuable even when painful. This doesn't make them pleasant or easy, but it makes them meaningful, purposeful, even oddly welcome. You actively seek challenges because you understand they're where real development happens. Lesson 43. What happened had to happen exactly as it did. Determinism was part of Stoic physics and philosophy. They believed the universe unfolds according to natural law, that everything has causes, that what happened had to happen given all the preceding conditions. This might seem to eliminate free will and responsibility. Actually, it enhances acceptance and focuses responsibility sharply on what you genuinely control, your response to what happens. If what happened had to happen, there's no point whatsoever in wishing it were different or thinking it shouldn't have happened. It happened because all the conditions were such that it had to happen given natural laws. Your boss criticizing you happened because of their personality, their mood, your work, the circumstances, countless factors combining in that exact moment. Could it have been different? Only if one of those causal factors had been different, but they weren't. So it happened exactly as it had to. This doesn't mean you approve or that you stop trying to improve things going forward. It means you accept reality as it actually is, rather than fighting mentally against what already happened. Now what? That's the only useful question. What will you do now in response to what has actually happened? This is where your freedom and responsibility live, not in changing the past or controlling deterministic processes, but in choosing your response to outcomes. Lesson 44. Suffering comes largely from resistance to reality. The Stoics made a crucial observation that modern therapy has validated. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is largely optional. Pain is the physical or emotional response to difficult events. Suffering is the story you tell about pain, the resistance to it, the judgment that it shouldn't be happening, the catastrophizing about what it means. A broken leg causes pain. The pain is real and unavoidable. But if you add, "This is terrible. Why did this happen to me? This ruins everything. I can't handle this," you multiply suffering far beyond the actual physical pain. What if instead you accepted, "My leg is broken. This is painful. I'll need time to heal. I'll have to adjust my plans temporarily. This is difficult, but manageable." You haven't eliminated pain, but you've dramatically reduced suffering. You're not fighting reality. You're acknowledging it clearly and working with it practically. This principle applies to all suffering. The event happens. Your resistance to it, your judgment about it, your story about what it means for your future or your worth. This creates most of your actual suffering. The Stoic practice is radical acceptance of what is, combined with wise action about what can still be changed going forward. Lesson 45. Every experience offers lessons if you're willing to learn. The Stoics saw life as a gymnasium for the soul, a training ground for character. Every experience, pleasant or painful, successful or failed, easy or difficult, offers lessons if you're willing to learn from it. Success teaches you what works and tests whether you maintain virtue in good fortune. Failure teaches you what doesn't work and tests whether you maintain virtue in adversity. When something goes wrong, immediately ask, "What can I learn from this? What is this experience teaching me? How can I use this to become better, wiser, stronger?" This mindset transformation turns victims into students, turns problems into curriculum, turns life into continuous education. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is meaningless. Everything serves your development if you approach it with the right attitude of receptivity to lessons. This doesn't mean manufacturing fake silver linings or pretending everything is secretly good. Some things are genuinely bad, genuinely harmful. But even genuinely bad things can teach, can reveal character, can prompt growth. The question is always, how will I respond to this? What will I make of it? What can I learn and take forward? Lesson 46. Welcome challenges as teachers. Seneca wrote that fortune tests us with difficulties specifically to strengthen us, like a trainer progressively increasing weight to build muscle. Easy lives make people weak, soft, unable to handle real challenges when they inevitably come. Difficult lives, embraced as training, rather than resented as unfair persecution, make people genuinely strong. The Stoics actually welcomed adversity for this reason, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they recognized its developmental value. Think of how athletes train. They deliberately put their bodies under stress, pushing limits, enduring discomfort. Why? Because controlled stress makes them stronger, more capable, more resilient. The same applies to character and psychological strength. Mental and emotional challenges, when faced with the right attitude, strengthen character. They reveal what you're made of. They show you where you need to grow. They provide the resistance necessary for development. So when difficulty comes, try reframing it. Your trainer has increased the weight because you're ready for harder challenges. You're being tested because you're capable of passing the test. This is your opportunity to prove your strength, to develop new capacities, to rise to the occasion and discover what you're truly capable of handling. Lesson 47. Your response matters more than what happens to you. This has been a recurring theme throughout Stoicism, but it's worth stating directly as its own lesson. The universe doesn't care about fairness. Good people suffer. Bad people sometimes prosper. Unfair things happen constantly. This is simply reality, simply how things are. What matters ultimately isn't what happens to you, but how you respond to what happens. You can respond to the same event in countless different ways. Lost your job? You could spend months in bitterness and self-pity, or you could immediately start planning your next move, update your resume, reach out to contacts. Perhaps even see it as an opportunity for career change you wouldn't have pursued otherwise. Same event, completely different outcomes based entirely on response. This is profoundly empowering once you truly grasp it. You're not at the mercy of circumstances. You're at the mercy of your choices about circumstances. No matter what happens, you retain the most important power, the power to choose your response. And that choice, consistently made well, determines the quality and direction and meaning of your entire life. Lesson 48. Find meaning in suffering through how you endure it. Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, wrote powerfully about how meaning can be found, even in the worst circumstances, through the attitude you maintain while enduring them. The Stoics would agree completely with his observations. When you cannot change your circumstances, when you must endure genuine suffering, you still choose how you endure, with dignity or despair, with courage or cowardice, with concern for others or pure self-interested survival, with maintained values or abandoned principles. How you endure reveals and builds character. Suffering can make you bitter or better, hard or compassionate, smaller or larger in spirit. The suffering itself doesn't determine which direction you go. Your chosen response does. This means even the worst experiences can have meaning, can serve purpose beyond pure harm, can contribute to your development rather than just destroying you. This isn't romanticizing suffering or pretending it's secretly good. Suffering is bad. But since it happens anyway, since you'll face serious difficulties whether you want to or not, you might as well extract meaning and value from hardship through how you choose to face it, through what you make of it. Lesson 49. Accept that you cannot control others. This is worth repeating explicitly because it's so difficult and so important for peace of mind. Other people will act according to their nature, their understanding, their circumstances, their choices. They won't always act as you wish. They'll sometimes disappoint you, betray you, hurt you, fail you. None of this is under your control no matter how much you want it to be. Accepting this eliminates so much frustration and resentment and wasted energy. When someone acts badly, you're not shocked or outraged or emotionally devastated because you never expected them to behave differently than they actually did. You're disappointed perhaps. You wish they'd chosen better. But you're not destroyed emotionally. You focus on your response rather than trying to change them through anger or manipulation. This applies even to close relationships. You cannot make your partner love you differently, your child behave differently, your parent treat you differently through force of will. You can only control your own behavior toward them and hope it influences them positively. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Either way, Your peace of mind depends on accepting this fundamental limit on your power. Lesson 50. Practice saying yes to life as it actually is. While the term amor, fati, was coined by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche in the 19th century, the concept itself is deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy. Saying yes to life means not just accepting, but actually affirming reality as it presents itself. Not in naive optimism that denies problems, but in profound acceptance of what is. This is how things are. This is the life you actually have. These are your actual circumstances. Say yes. Start from here. Work with what is, rather than fighting mentally against it. So many people spend their entire lives saying no to reality. No to aging, to loss, to disappointment, to limitations, to mortality, to imperfection. They live in constant argument with what is, and reality always wins that argument eventually. The alternative is yes. Yes to all of it. Yes to pleasure and pain, success and failure, beginning and ending, the whole package of being alive in this particular time and place. This yes is genuine freedom. You stop fighting battles you cannot possibly win. You stop exhausting yourself in futile resistance. You engage with what actually is, rather than what you wish were. And paradoxically, from this place of total acceptance, you're often more capable of changing what can genuinely be changed, improving what can genuinely be improved, because you're not wasting energy on denial and resistance. Managing emotions. Lessons 51 through 65. Lesson 51. Emotions aren't the enemy, but unexamined emotions can mislead you. There's a common misunderstanding that Stoics want to eliminate all emotion, to become cold and robotic. This isn't true. The Stoics acknowledge natural emotional responses as part of being human. They just cautioned against letting emotions drive behavior without rational examination. Emotions provide valuable information. They're not inherently bad, but they can be based on false judgments and lead you astray if not examined. Fear might alert you to real danger, or it might arise from false beliefs about what can actually harm you. Anger might signal genuine injustice, or it might arise from thinking you control things you don't. Sadness might be appropriate grief, or it might be unnecessary suffering added to unavoidable pain. The practice isn't suppressing emotion, it's examining it. Where does this feeling come from? What judgment underlies it? Is that judgment accurate? What's the wise response? This creates space between feeling and action. You feel the emotion. You don't immediately act on it or identify with it completely. You think, you assess. You choose a response aligned with virtue and reason, rather than just reacting automatically from emotion. This is emotional maturity, emotional intelligence, not emotional suppression or denial. Lesson 52. You can't control the first wave of emotion, but you can control what comes next. The Stoics understood that initial emotional reactions are often involuntary, biological, automatic. Startle at a loud noise. Feel a flash of anger at an insult. Experience a wave of fear facing danger. These first movements, as they called them, are natural physiological responses. You're not responsible for them and placed for them. You can't always prevent them through willpower alone. But what comes next is absolutely up to you. Do you feed the emotion with additional thoughts, letting it grow larger? Do you act on it immediately without reflection? Or do you pause, examine it, decide whether it's justified and helpful? Then choose your action from wisdom rather than from the emotion itself. This second movement, the reflective response, is where your agency and responsibility live. This distinction is crucially important. It means you're not failing morally when you feel strong emotions like anger or fear. You're only failing if you let them control you without examination, if you act from them without engaging your rational capacity. Feel the anger, note it, understand where it comes from, then choose your action from wisdom rather than from unexamined rage. Lesson 53. Destructive passions arise from false judgments about good and evil. The Stoics categorized emotions into passions, destructive emotions, and good feelings, healthy emotions. Passions are disturbing emotions arising from false judgments, believing external things are truly good or bad, believing we should pursue or avoid them desperately. Good feelings arise from correct judgments. Only virtue is truly good. Only vice is truly bad. Everything else is indifferent to our essential well-being. When you believe wealth is truly good and necessary for happiness, you'll feel desperate desire for it, and crushing despair without it. When you believe reputation is truly good, you'll feel anxious fear about others' opinions and crushing shame when criticized. These intense, disturbing emotions come from mistaken judgments about value. Correct those fundamental judgments. Recognize that externals are indifferent and the passions lose their power over you. This doesn't mean you become indifferent to all outcomes or stop having preferences. You can prefer wealth and work toward it while recognizing it's not necessary for living well. You can care about your reputation while not being psychologically disturbed by criticism. The crucial difference is in the underlying judgment about what's truly necessary for happiness versus what's merely preferred. Lesson 54. Healthy emotions include joy, wish, and caution. The Stoics identified 3 good feelings or healthy emotions based on correct judgments: joy about present virtue, wish for future virtue, and caution about vice. Joy is different from mere pleasure because it's based on correct judgment about what's truly good. You're joyful about acting virtuously, living well, making progress toward wisdom. This joy doesn't depend on external circumstances, so it remains stable. Wish is different from desperate craving or attachment. You wish for preferred outcomes while fully recognizing they're not essential. You wish for health, work toward it sensibly, but accept illness if it comes. You wish for success, try your best, but aren't destroyed by failure. Caution is different from paralyzing fear. You're appropriately cautious about vice, about actions that would corrupt your character, but you're not afraid of external things, which can't truly harm what matters most. These emotions are rational, proportional, based on true understanding of what actually matters. They enhance life rather than disturbing it. The Stoic goal isn't emotionlessness, but appropriate, healthy, reality-based emotional life, grounded in correct judgments. Lesson 55. Notice the gap between event and emotional response. When something happens, there's a space, however brief, between the external event and your emotional response to it. The event doesn't directly cause the emotion mechanically. Your interpretation of the event causes the emotion. Someone cuts you off in traffic. The event is just a car changing lanes. Your interpretation might be, they disrespected me, they endangered me, they're a terrible person. And this interpretation generates anger rapidly. Notice this gap. Learn to expand it through practice. Between the event and emotion lies your judgment, your interpretation, and you can examine and potentially change that interpretation. Someone cuts you off. What if you interpret it as, they're in a hurry, or distracted, or didn't see me? It's not personal, I'm safe. Different interpretation, different emotion, or perhaps no strong emotional reaction at all. This practice requires attention and training. The gap can be milliseconds long initially, but with practice, you get better at noticing it, at catching your interpretations before they generate full-blown emotions, at choosing different interpretations that serve you better and reflect reality more accurately. Lesson 56. Reframe events in neutral or positive terms when possible. Connected to the previous lesson is the practice of deliberate reframing. When something happens that you initially judge as purely bad, pause and ask, how else might I view this situation? What's a more neutral, factual description? What might actually be good about this if I look for it? Lost a job? Initial judgment might be disaster, catastrophe, terrible news. Reframe. Opportunity to reassess career path, to try something new, to spend more time with family, to develop new skills, to discover I'm more resilient than I thought. Rejected from a program, initial judgment, personal failure, proof I'm not good enough. Reframe. Saved from wrong fit, redirected toward better path, given time to improve application, taught resilience through difficulty. This isn't forcing fake positivity or denying genuine problems. Sometimes the most helpful reframe is simply neutral factual description. Instead of, this is terrible, just, this happened. Now what? That alone can dramatically reduce suffering. And sometimes there genuinely are positive aspects or opportunities if you look for them with an open mind. Lesson 57. Use language precisely to describe events without adding judgment. The Stoics emphasized accurate representation of reality. Describe events objectively without automatically adding interpretive layers of judgment. Not, I was humiliated, but someone criticized me publicly. Not, this is unbearable, but this is difficult and uncomfortable. Not, I've failed completely, but this particular attempt didn't work. Precise, factual language prevents catastrophizing and emotional escalation. When you remove judgmental, exaggerated language, you often find the situation is more manageable than your initial description suggested. You can handle public criticism. You can endure difficulty and discomfort. You can learn from attempts that don't work out. The situation hasn't changed, but your description of it has become more accurate, and that changes your emotional response and your capacity to cope effectively. Practice this consciously in writing. Describe events that upset you using only neutral, factual language without interpretation. Notice how different they feel when described this way. The facts are often far less overwhelming than your emotional interpretation of the facts. Lesson 58. Anger rarely improves situations and often makes them worse. Seneca wrote extensively and powerfully about anger, calling it the most hideous and frenzied of all emotions. He wasn't saying anger is never understandable or justified by circumstances. He was saying it's almost always counterproductive. When you're angry, you think less clearly, you act more rashly, you damage relationships, you often regret your actions later, and you suffer physically and emotionally from the anger itself. Anger feels productive sometimes, like righteous outrage that will fix injustice or motivate necessary action. But the same goals can almost always be achieved more effectively from calm determination. You can address wrongs, set boundaries, seek justice, take strong action, all without rage driving you. In fact, you usually do these things significantly better when not consumed by anger. Your arguments are more persuasive, your actions are more strategic, you're far less likely to do something you later regret. When you feel anger rising, pause and ask yourself honestly, Will acting from this anger improve the situation? The answer is almost always no. Then make a conscious choice. You can still take action, set boundaries, address problems, but do it from reason and justice rather than from rage and vengeance. Lesson 59. Anxiety often focuses on what you cannot control. Much anxiety arises from worrying about outcomes you can't control. Will they hire me? Will she like me back? Will the test results be okay? Will the flight be safe? Will my children turn out well? These are natural concerns, but worrying about them serves absolutely no purpose because the outcomes are fundamentally outside your control. The worry doesn't influence the outcome positively. It only makes you miserable now. The Stoic response to anxiety is immediate redirection of attention. Stop focusing obsessively on uncontrollable outcomes. Focus intensely on controllable actions. You can't control whether you're hired, but you can control preparing well, presenting yourself honestly, following up professionally. You can't control test results once the test is taken, but you can control how you respond to whatever results come back. This shift from outcome to process, from future to present, from external to internal, this dramatically reduces anxiety. You're no longer helpless, merely hoping and worrying. You're active, engaged in what's actually yours to do, what you actually have power over. Lesson 60. Grief is natural. Excessive grief might come from false beliefs. When you lose someone you love deeply, grief is natural, appropriate, deeply human. The Stoics weren't advocating cold indifference to loss or claiming you shouldn't feel sad. They acknowledged that grief is part of love, part of being human and having attachments. But they distinguish between appropriate grief and excessive, prolonged suffering that serves no purpose and comes from false beliefs about reality. False belief they should still be alive, death is unnatural and wrong. But everyone dies. Death is completely natural. They live their span. False belief. I cannot be happy without them in my life. But your happiness ultimately depends on your virtue and character, not on external circumstances, not even on other people, however much you love them. False belief. This loss is completely unendurable, but you're still here, still breathing, still capable of living well. It's extremely difficult, but demonstrably not unendurable. The Stoic approach to grief isn't suppression or denial. It's feeling the loss authentically while not adding unnecessary suffering through false beliefs. Grieve the person. Miss them terribly. Remember them with love. Then, gradually, return to life, to virtue, to purpose, carrying them with you in memory rather than being destroyed forever by their absence. Lesson 61. Jealousy and envy arise from comparing externals and desiring others' advantages. When you look at others' success, wealth, relationships, opportunities, beauty, talents, and feel jealousy or envy eating at you, you're making several philosophical mistakes. You're comparing externals which are indifferent to true well-being. You're assuming their advantages would make you happy, which is false. You're probably not seeing their struggles, costs, or problems. And you're wasting precious energy on what you absolutely can't control while neglecting what you can. The Stoic response is redirecting focus entirely. Stop comparing yourself to others constantly. Compare yourself only to your past self. Are you making progress? Are you becoming better? That's what actually matters. Stop desiring others' advantages. Focus on developing your own character, which is the only true good. Remember that only virtue is genuinely good, and virtue is equally available to all regardless of external circumstances. When you feel envy rising, use it as information rather than indulging it. What does this envy reveal about your underlying values? Are you pursuing the right things? Are you focused on externals you can't control? Return to what matters: virtue, character, your own growth, independent of comparison. Lesson 62. Desire for external things creates vulnerability and dependency. The more you need externally to be happy, the less free you are internally. Every desire for external things, every dependency on circumstances being a certain way, creates a point of vulnerability. You can lose that thing. It can be taken away. It can never arrive. And if your happiness depends on it, you're at its mercy, at fortune's mercy, essentially enslaved to circumstances. The Stoic practice is progressively reducing dependencies, loosening attachments to externals, not eliminating all preferences, which would be inhuman and unnatural, but holding them lightly rather than desperately. You prefer health, but don't need it for happiness. You prefer wealth, but don't depend on it for contentment. You prefer success, but aren't destroyed by failure. This progressive detachment is genuine freedom. This practice is challenging because attachment often feels like love or commitment. But healthy preference is different from desperate need. You can deeply care about people without needing them for your happiness in a way that makes you psychologically dependent. You can work hard for goals without depending on specific outcomes for your sense of worth. Finding this balance is what the Stoics aimed for consistently. Lesson 63. Fear loses power when you accept the worst-case scenario. What are you actually afraid of in your daily anxieties? Losing your job? Being rejected? Failing publicly? Getting sick? Dying? The Stoics would say, mentally accept these possibilities fully, not in resignation or pessimism, but in clear-eyed acknowledgement. They might happen. If they do, you'll respond. You'll figure it out somehow. You'll endure. You'll find a way forward. When you stop running from the worst case, when you face it squarely in imagination and realize you could survive it, the fear loses its paralyzing grip. You're not at its mercy anymore. You've already accepted the possibility mentally, already imagined handling it, already decided you'd find a way through. This acceptance doesn't mean you stop trying to prevent bad outcomes. It means you stop being paralyzed by fear of them. This is the power of negative visualization applied specifically to fear. Imagine the thing you fear. Walk through it mentally in detail. See yourself enduring it, adapting to it, persisting through it. The imagining builds genuine confidence that you could actually handle it if it happened. And often you realize the worst case isn't as catastrophic as your vague anxiety suggested when you examine it clearly. Lesson 64. Joy based on virtue is stable. Joy based on externals is fragile. When your happiness depends primarily on external circumstances, it fluctuates constantly. You're happy when things go well, miserable when they don't, constantly anxious about whether good circumstances will continue. This is exhausting and ultimately unsatisfying because externals always change eventually. Fortune gives and takes away unpredictably. Nothing external will last forever. But joy based on virtue, on living well, on making progress in character, this is remarkably stable. You can maintain it in almost any circumstances because it depends only on you, only on your choices and character. You acted wisely today? Joy. You showed courage? Joy. You treated someone justly? Joy. These sources of deep satisfaction are always available, always within reach, never subject to fortune's whims. This doesn't mean ignoring external goods entirely or feeling nothing about outcomes. It means finding your deepest satisfaction in what you control, your character, your choices, your progress toward virtue. External goods become bonuses that enhance life when present. Their absence doesn't destroy fundamental well-being. Lesson 65. Equanimity is the goal. Steady regardless of circumstances. The Stoic ideal isn't emotionlessness, but equanimity, a steady internal balance regardless of external circumstances. You're not crushed by difficulty or inflated by success. You maintain an even keel, responding appropriately to situations without wild swings in mood or self-assessment based on temporary externals. This equanimity comes from all the practices we've discussed: knowing what you control, basing worth on virtue rather than outcomes, examining judgments that generate emotions, accepting reality as it is, preparing mentally for difficulties. Together, these practices create remarkable psychological stability. You're less reactive, less at the mercy of circumstances, more reliably yourself across varied situations. This might sound boring compared to emotional highs and lows, but it's actually deeply peaceful, genuinely freeing, highly conducive to clear thinking and good decisions. And you still feel appropriate emotions. You still enjoy pleasure, feel sadness at loss, experience love and connection. But these emotions don't control you, or define you, or determine your worth. They're experiences passing through your awareness, and you remain steady at your center. And so we reach the end of our 100 lessons, though these are just selections, highlights from a vast and rich tradition of philosophical wisdom. We've moved from the fundamental principle of the dichotomy of control through the 4 cardinal virtues. We've explored daily Stoic practices, amor, fati, emotional regulation, relationships, resilience, and living with purpose. These 100 lessons are really variations on a few core themes. Focus on what you control. Base your worth on virtue rather than externals. Accept reality while working to improve what can be improved. Treat others with justice and kindness. Face difficulty with courage. Practice moderation. Examine your life regularly. Learn continuously. Act virtuously regardless of circumstances. Make progress rather than seeking perfection. Simple principles, but not easy to embody consistently. That's why the Stoics emphasized daily practice, why they wrote reminders they'd known for years, why they treated philosophy as lifelong endeavor. You never finish becoming a better person. You just keep practicing. The beauty of Stoicism is its practicality. Right now, today, wherever you are, you can apply these principles. You can focus on what you control. You can practice a virtue. You can accept what you cannot change. You can examine a judgment creating suffering. You can treat someone kindly. Every moment offers this opportunity, not to be perfect, but to be intentional, not to never fail, but to try, not to control outcomes, but to shape character through choices. Thank you for this journey through ancient wisdom. If you found value here, please like and subscribe. It helps others discover these quiet, philosophical explorations. Sleep well, dream of virtue. Wake tomorrow ready to practice, to apply these lessons to your actual life, to make progress on the path toward living well. Good night.